Hello and welcome to the Jordan Powers Experience. My name is Jordan Powers, and on today's episode, I am joined by the one and only, the lovely, beautiful, extremely talented Sydney Powers. Sydney Powers is my younger sister, and yeah, I love her, man. Like she is probably the main reason that I am pursuing a career in filmmaking and kind of doing everything that I'm doing now. Because if it wasn't for her leaving Kelowna at the age of 17, 18, and pursuing her dream to become an actor, I don't know if I would have had that same spark get lit up inside of me. So I owe her a lot for that, and I have a tremendous amount of respect and love for her, and so I was really excited to have her on the podcast and kind of be able to showcase her and help promote her. So yeah, Sid is an actor. She's the youngest person to ever get accepted to the Vancouver Academy of Dramatic Arts. She's been in films such as The Recall with Wesley Snipes, a TV series named Querencia, I hope I pronounced that right, which you can go and watch on the APTN network. And she's been in, man, she's probably got so much experience just doing auditions down in Vancouver. So for all those Okanagan actors out there listening to this, I think she has a lot of advice and a lot of really good insight into the industry. And still is at a very young age and has a bright career ahead of her. So this episode is brought to you by Oakham Cannabis. Oakham Cannabis is a craft cannabis producer located here in Kelowna, BC. They use plenty of different environmentally friendly techniques to grow organic, high THC cannabis. And you can now go to the BC Cannabis License Store and pick up either Smoke'em or Oakham. It's now all available. Highly recommend it, guys. Go to www.oakhamcannabis.com to check out more. And this episode is also brought to you by Garnish Barware. Garnish Barware is located here in Kelowna, BC as well, and they do custom engraved cocktail and barware kits. You can go to www.garnishbarware.com to get your own. It's trusted behind some of Canada's busiest cocktail bars, and they're awesome for just lames like myself who are learning the craft. So I highly recommend going to www.garnishbarware.com and picking up your kit. And with that all being said, let's get into the episode, my episode with Sydney Powers.
I mean, and I saw it and I was like, what is that?
I think I like it.
You think you like it?
Yeah.
I don't even know what it was called before.
Power 104.
Oh, and now it's just the lizard.
It's just the lizard 104 or something like that.
It's a lizard.
Okay, ready to start?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Sydney Powers.
This is me.
I like your last name.
Thanks. I got it from her dad.
It's a solid last name.
It is. Good one.
What's the lamest joke somebody said about our last name when
we grew up in the era of Austin Powers, so I feel like
Austin Powers one?
I feel like it's just this when people see me and they go
Well, what are you doing in Kelowna? Who are you, Sid?
Well, I am your little sister. Currently in Kelowna. I am on vacation.
Nice.
But I think I've had more auditions in the last 4 days of my vacation than I had in all of 2020.
Okay.
So that was cool. But yeah.
What do you think the reason for that is?
It's just the industry is insane in Vancouver right now. Like when I moved down there was 28 productions, which was huge for Vancouver, and now there's like 187.
Okay, crazy.
Yeah, California's just not.
Give the audience some context. Why are we talking about auditions? Why are we talking about the Vancouver film scene?
I'm a Vancouver actor. I'm a big deal. Did you not know?
I'm a star.
I'm actually famous now. That's what I do.
And when did you start acting? Is this weird having me ask all these questions?
That you know all the answers to?
All the answers.
I would say my very first acting experience was probably when I was around 4 or 5 years old, when you would piss me off and I would slap my arm as hard as I could, because you were never allowed to hit me. We were allowed to wrestle, but you weren't allowed to slap me. I would slap my arm to make a big red mark, and then I'd full-blown tears run downstairs and tell mom and dad you hit me.
Yeah, I kind of hated that. I
don't know why.
I have trust issues now because of that, actually. This is why I can't, be in a relationship with anybody.
No. Because I'll tell your mom and dad.
Yeah, I just feel like I'm being lied and manipulated to all the time. It's great.
Crazy.
Childhood traumas.
You're welcome. Isn't it supposed to be the other way around? Are you the older brother?
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm joking, obviously. That's kind of wild, though. Like, do you think that, like, do you think that helped? Like, I kind of acting a lot as a kid, and like, because you were a bit of a liar.
A bit. Are you kidding me? I was a huge liar. It was like everything that came out of my mouth was a story, but that's also like every game you and I played until an embarrassing age of like 13 or 14. Like, we were still killing orcs in the park at like...
Yeah.
Well,
we were doing like make-believe, like knights and dragons and kind of stuff. Yeah. I probably stopped when I was like 14 years old.
Yeah, and when you stopped, I stopped, which is lame. But yeah. No, I think that was a huge part of it, is that our entire childhood was telling stories. Yeah.
I agree. I think back to that of being like, I always tried to be like the boss of like what happened and like what the story was, and like, and then we were always just playing pretend. And
like me learning how the rules for Monopoly like literally 6 months ago. I wondered why I never won that game once.
Who lied to you on that one?
You because I couldn't read, so you would read the rules of Monopoly in a way that you won every time.
Nice. So that's just called being smart. That's just being
strategic.
Practical. That's so funny. I actually think about that with Josh Bourdignon. I used to just make up all the rules when we were playing Pokemon as well. And I would just win all the time.
You would win. That's how it works.
It was game over.
Yeah.
So when did you decide that you wanted to like act though? Like, actually act?
It was, I guess it would have been grade 11. First lead in a high school thing was Romeo and Juliet. And it was like, after that, like you hear, like it's like something that you always want to do. You're like, I want to be an actor, but you can't say that because everyone's like, no, you're pick another career. That's not a real career. But then you have one person just be like, no, you're really good. And it's like, boom, that's all I needed. I just needed one person to tell me that I'm not useless, or I'm not, like, it's not going to not work. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think it was Romeo and Juliet was the first time I had more than one person being like, no, you could do this.
Do you remember who the first person was that told you, like, yo, like, you've got this, you're good?
Well, besides, like, family, probably. Like, I don't know, it was like, Ryan Grenier was probably... Like, it's one of those things that when you're in high school, you always think that's like, oh, I'm going to do something better. I'm going to go to Vancouver. I'm going to do something better when I get to Vancouver. I'm going to be... But then, like, I think the best acting training I ever had, and the most I actually ever learned about the industry and the arts and, like, what theater is and the history of theater was from my high school theater teacher.
And that's Ryan Grenier?
Grenier, yeah. Like, it was, like, I paid $25,000 to go to school in Vancouver to learn acting, and it was like, I got there, and I'm like, I know this.
Right.
And that's crazy because he was a high school drama teacher.
Yeah, he seemed like he had a lot of faith in you also.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, and then and he was never you're amazing, you're amazing. It was like, what was that? We know you're better, so what was that? And it was like, that's the kind of direction I need, is not being told I'm great, but being told, come on.
You can do better.
We know you. We know you're great. Yeah. We know that my ego's big enough on itself. I don't need to be told I'm great.
Do you think it's necessary to have an ego if you're an actor?
Well, it's being constantly picked at, right? Like chipped away, chipped away, chipped away. I came to Vancouver with, being Kelowna, like what I thought in high school, big fish, little pond, right? Yeah. You get to Vancouver and you're like, I'm the shit. And it's just, no, clink, no, clink, no, clink. And that ego gets chipped away each time, and you get smaller and smaller. And then you're like, oh, no, I'm not going to be able to do this. And then you just get one person that's like, you got to call back. And boom, you can't get me through a door. My ego's huge again, right? So it's, I don't know. I think it's important.
Acting's so interesting in that sense because... Yeah, you hear no so much. Mm-hmm. You hear no, and
you don't even hear no. You don't hear anything. They just don't call you
ghosted.
Back. Yeah, you're literally ghosted with each audition. And people are like, "What happened with that audition?"
You're like, couldn't tell you. Who knows? 2 years from now, maybe I'll find out.
But, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but and like actors, a lot of the time they're so in tune with their emotions and like they're. It's like that's the medium, right? Like you have to like know yourself and know your emotions and go to certain places, and there's different methods, and then you're just getting chipped away at all the time. So these poor sensitive souls also have like the hardest thing to go for.
Yeah, your whole job. Yeah, your whole job is to literally like wear your like your emotions and your feelings, and it's like being just like all of like everything on your body just needs to be exposed, and you're like, this is me, and then it's like that's not good enough.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not even like anything you can do either. Yeah. It's just like you're either not the right look or the director just has somebody else in mind, a friend that they already know is going to get the part. And, so.
But they have to, do auditions for, the rights to even film in Vancouver. You have to audition a certain amount of people, and you have to hire a certain amount of people that are BC taxpayers. but like half the times the roles that I'm auditioning for were already cast in LA.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's like if Margot Robbie got it, I don't know why I'm auditioning for it, you know? Like
Yeah.
yeah.
So, so you started doing theater in high school, and Mr. Grenier was a big part of that and pushing you. And do you remember your first like big role that like you said, Romeo and Juliet?
I remember Romeo and Juliet would have been my first big lead role. But I'll never like I think in elementary school we did Treasure Planet, where I played a boy named Jamie. And you know me, like as soon as I got attention, I was all over it. That was my favorite thing in the world. Like I never got attention from sports because I don't sport.
Because I was an all-star athlete.
Yeah, having to be in my brother's shadow of city champs,
Champs.
provincial champs,
Gold medal.
skiats. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's like finally found that thing that was like, oh, I'm good at this, and people actually watch me do it. And yeah, it was. I think that was probably the first big role I had. But it felt more important to me to have a one-liner in a play in high school or a Clone Actors Theater or Clone Actor Studio, or like anything like that. I do remember being in The Darlings, my grade 12 year, and that was my first.
Okay, that was your first feature film.
That was my first feature film, and I got the lead role in that.
Yeah.
Which was crazy cool.
And that was the first film you and I worked on together as well.
Yeah, and actually that same summer we worked on The Recall as well. Yeah, it was exact same summer. So.
Do you know when I thought, or when I first thought, like, okay, you can be a really serious actor and really good?
No.
You don't know which moment?
No.
I want you to tell the story, but it was, you ended up in the hospital. Let's put it that way.
Oh my God, was it from me falling figure skating?
No, not figure skating.
Oh, because I thought you were going to go for the Sydney keeps falling on her head.
No, but that was funny.
Yeah, that was right.
No, it was theater.
Oh, when I jumped off so yeah, I'm trying to, so that would have been during the pajama game.
Okay.
And were you in the audience?
No,
Nana
I was
and Grandpa
at
were, though.
work. I was at work.
Yeah, and I jumped.
So provide some context. What's the pajama game? How long were you preparing for this role?
Yeah, it was a pajama game, high school, grade 12 musical, last hurrah of being in my high school theater, and I can't remember what my character's name was. But I know I had to run this one big dance scene. It was so dramatic, and I ran and I did a jump, and then where I'm supposed to land it, I rolled out of it, broke my foot, and was like, all right, like it cracked. It was loud. Like other people on stage's heads whipped.
And you were doing a front flip, right?
I can't remember if it was a front flip or a cartwheel or something, whatever, but off this block onto the stage, which I've landed a million times. And for some reason this night just didn't. My ankle rolled, and I was wearing Converse, and I just remember bending down, because the one part of the thing we all lay down flat, and I laid down sideways so I can tighten my shoe to pop the bone back in. Because I couldn't get off stage. I was in the middle. I literally had speaking lines next. So I untied my shoe, and I just felt it go swollen. And I'm like, oh, well, FML, pop! And like popped it back in. It made an audible good click too, which was great, which just was like, but I had so much adrenaline in my system that I was like, it's fine. It doesn't hurt, it's fine. And stood up, said my lines, whatever. Got off stage, sat down. I was like, all right, cool. My foot's broken.
Yeah, I have a cracked bone in my foot.
And made it to intermission, though. I remember because it was part of the first act. And I couldn't get off stage until intermission because I had lines. So, yeah, it was.
And, like, for context that people don't know in theater as well, like, it's not like you're just on stage delivering those lines and then like the curtains go down. Like you're running to get costume changes and then to get to this side of the stage, and then you got to run to the back and it's chaos and blah 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 blah. And all in between that, you're like, I broke my foot, and your director is like, excuse me. You're like, 1 second, gotta get on stage.
I gotta be back on stage. Yeah, my foot's broken, but that's okay. I got a line, so BRB. And yeah.
And so did they end up replacing you in the very end? And like,
I
remember that's when you first started crying, right?
Yeah, because Catherine Sherwood was the other, like we were double casted for that part. So
because like she'll do the role one night
and I would do the other one
the next night. And
yeah,
then, you switch.
Yeah, because we had such a big theater that it was to make sure everyone's involved. Everyone was double cast, and she ended up getting to go on. Because I had to call you and get me driven to the hospital. And as soon as I got there and I saw, it was like my phone just blew up with the, we miss you, the show went great. Like, but I was just full blown tears. I was so upset that I didn't get to finish that show.
Yeah, that's when I knew that you had a chance of being a really good and serious actor and pursuing it as a career, because I was like, yeah, you broke your foot on stage, kept it together, and like just grinded it out. And it was taking away the microphone from you, which was like the hardest part.
Yeah, was when they had to unclip the microphone.
Yeah.
It sucked.
And so are you doing theater much anymore, or you kind of transitioned from theater to film, to primarily film?
Yeah, film it's completely different. It's a completely different skill. It's a completely different, because in theater, your whole job is to be big and loud, and which is my natural personality. So theater's, I'm not gonna say easy for me, but it's something that, like, when I do it, I'm so in it, and I'm so loud, and I'm so me, and it's amazing. But then I get to do film, and it's challenging. Right. And it's like everything you do, every look, every micro movement on your face is caught. And so it's like, I'm a lot more judgmental of myself on film, but that also gives me...
Well, you can watch it back.
Right?
Like, see yourself.
And the other thing too is, like, with theater, you can change it every single time, every night. I can do, if I didn't like how I did my show last night, I've got tomorrow night. I can redo it. But with theater, or with film, it's the director picks. Right. I've no choice at what I look like or what makes it in, because the director picks. So yeah, it gives me a different thrill of being like, oh my God, when I'm sitting to watch it for the first time, like, this could be what I remembered, awesome, or it could be.
Do you like looking at the monitor when you're on set, or are you like, I don't care, just like, next take, let's go?
Yeah, the only time I will watch myself act is when I'm sending in a audition or when it's finally done. Right. Because I trust the people that I'm working with that hired me, that they know enough what they're doing.
You'd hope so.
Yeah, and it's, I don't know, I always find as an actor, I'm more of a pawn in someone else's story rather than it being my story. So if, Mary, when I was in Querencia, if she liked the take or she liked the way that I did it, I'm not going to contradict her. It's her story. Right? So.
Yeah, it seems like theater can be more of a medium for an actor, because they can be in that role for like days on end and weeks and weeks and weeks, and rehearse and deliver that line. And filmmaking is definitely more of a filmmaker's medium, it feels like, because there's just so many things going on. And then, okay, we need you to hit 30 seconds, hit that line, cool, moving on, we'll catch you like in 2 hours, because we're gonna do these scenes and stuff. Yeah. So when you made that transition from theater to film, was that all primarily at VADA?
No, I think...
Or was that after?
I think it was before.
Oh.
I think it was before. I think I kind of decided when I was moving to Vancouver that I didn't want to pursue theater as much. But mainly because I just didn't want to do musicals. It was like I grew up doing musicals because that's what you do in high school, and that's what Clone Actor Studio did. It was just musicals. And I'm not the best singer, so I never got to be always the lead role. But in plays, I always got to be the lead. So I don't know. I think it was that thing where I was like, if I have an option that I can do film and I can have a better chance of always being the lead. And also, there's just more money in film. Right. Like, at the end of the day, like, if I have to take 6 months off work to get paid $500 per month, I can't survive off that. Yeah. Whereas, doing one commercial is a $3,000 buyout, and I don't have to work for that month, so I could go and do it, right?
Yeah. There's always the classic stories of the struggling artists in New York City in the theater actors. And even like some of the world's best actors that go to theater, like, they don't do it for the money at all. They're just doing it as like another experience. And, and so why did you end up deciding to go to VADA, the Vancouver Academy of Dramatic Arts? And I tell everybody this story about you going there, and so maybe correct me if I'm wrong and if I've been lying this time, but I believe you were the youngest person to get accepted? Yeah, I was 17. Yeah. They don't accept anyone under 18. But yeah, you and I actually did my audition tape. And Simon, the head guy, called me and was like, hey, so, hey, that's Simon. Hey. Sounds like an actor already.
He is. What a great man. He's so, like, eccentric. It's awesome. He actually... I don't know if I should swear on here because mom and dad are going to watch it. But
Fuck it.
Okay, he bought me a pin. He bought me a pin when we went to LA that said "cunt junkie" when he found out I was gay because he thought it was the funniest thing in the world.
Oh my lord!
Yeah,
that's a risky joke. You could have taken that one way or the other.
Yeah. He bought it for me, and I just laughed so hard when I saw it because I'm like 17 still, and I'm like, oh my god, this is the principal of my school who was like, I saw this on a street thing. Think it was funny, and I was like, oh my god, all right, yeah. So yeah, no, it was. I don't know. Vada was, it was kind of that thing that I went to because I thought I had to go to school. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I would have done it. I don't know if I would have done it the same way now that I've been in the film industry for a bit. I don't know if I would have gone straight to school.
Okay.
Yeah, I think like there was a lot I needed to learn about being behind being in front of the camera, but being behind the camera that I learned from Vada, which was like, how to hit a mark and where your lights are, and even how to actually communicate with the director was a huge part of that program, which just was like, oh my God, thank you to not making me a diva. Because it's like, you learned a big part about that. But as for my actual acting, I think it's more something I prefer doing it as a raw version and doing things as like me as that character, or like a not as polished, I went to school and this is what I came out as. It kind of almost, I felt like once I went to school, we kind of were all becoming the same Vancouver actors that were being pushed out. That the farther I got away from it and the more independent films I started working on, and like working with like young directors that have never done anything before, and young cinematographers that are like, this is my first time, being behind the camera and actually doing our own project. I think that was a lot more helpful for me as an actor. That's interesting. Than actually going to school. Yeah, because like you think they were kind of like molding the same type of actor, like the same methods. And same method, and That's interesting. And people even like film, like Chelsea was on the podcast recently, and she said that she, McEvoy, and she said that she took 2 years off out of high school because like you're imitating life at the end of the day when you're doing film, and so you need life experience. You need to go and experience life and feel what it likes to have heartbreak and love and emotions and and that's a big thing too, is like I being 17 years old, I could act my heart broken, but now like being 23 and it actually has happened and it was harsh and it hurt. It's like now it's like a scene that I need to break up with a boyfriend or something. Tears are instant. Like it is instant, and it's so and I'm so angry and I can get so much, That's the one thing with my acting that I can't do is like just turn the tears on. Mm-hmm. But you're so good at it. Like what what is that? Years and years of torturing my brother. Just fake crying. Fake crying. Yeah. I literally was born with that talent. But what's the method that you go for? Like, do you think about something sad? Can you just like cue the tear ducts? Yeah. Like, I don't get it. It depends on what we're doing. Like if I'm in like a film and I'm doing something like The Darlings, where I had to carry my dead sister, down a whole thing for 15 minutes, those tears were real. Like they were, like you can get into that. You feel like you're a part of it. And you become attached to it, and everything like that is, it's real when you're in it, and you put your brain in it that this actually happened. And I literally have a dead body in my hands. Instant tears. That's easy. But if I have an audition, there is. It's This Is Me from The Greatest Showman, and they do they were trying to get funding for it, and the woman is singing the song for the first time, and she's hiding behind this little thing. It kills me. I cannot. This is the Hugh Jackman musical, right? Yeah. And he's crying, and she's crying, and the musical theater, man, it hits the part of my soul. So you just watch the video and it makes you cry. Or like pieces of Hamilton, instant tears. Yeah. Or what's the Dear Evan Hansen? Instant tears. You just put a musical in front of me and I'll cry. That's so funny. Yeah. See, because like when I'm scrolling through Facebook and you see like the animals getting rescued videos, like that shit always makes me cry. But if I'm on set, I can't like take myself seriously. I think that's what it is. I don't take the crying seriously. Right? And so I just like, I can't go and watch that video and cry on the spot because I'm like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting. But when you're about to cry though, and you get that feeling like right here, like right in your sternum. Yeah. That, as soon as I feel that, I just go, don't cry. don't cry. And that my brain, and I think it's probably many women have this, is that you're told it's weak to cry. And then once you get angry enough and you're like, don't cry, you start to cry because you're trying so hard to hold it back. So that feeling right in my, like right between my rib cage, as soon as I notice I have that feeling, and then I start putting in my brain that like you can't cry, then I instantly cry.
Damn. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because I remember when I was a kid, even like you'd be fine, you like hurt yourself and you're fine, and then you're like, okay, I'm good, and then somebody comes over like, are you okay? And you're like, don't ask me if I'm okay. That's when you start crying.
That's my definition of working at a cactus club now with all the Karens. I heard she just called you a bitch. Are you okay? I'm fine. Don't ask me if I'm okay.
Yeah, how has serving helped your acting? Because you do the classic like you'll put on different roles with different people kind of thing.
I used to when I was like. Yeah, when I was really young and I just started serving, like 19, I would go and I would do accents at different tables.
Yeah.
And I even still do that. Like if someone has like an Irish accent or something, I'll go and I'll put on an Irish accent and everyone will laugh at the table. And yeah, I don't know, like that kind of stuff. And even just like being able to look at one table and being like, you know, their food came out wrong, everything went wrong, they're pissed off at me, they hate me, and then turn to this table and it's a bunch of guys that are like, more tequila, and you're like, yeah! Like it's, you know, it's a constant like flipping, like remember mom when she would yell at you and then she would answer the phone and be like, hello? Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah.
Jordan, if you don't clean up your damn rendering, hey, the Powers household, how you doing?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
That's so funny.
All day, every day.
Oh my God. Okay. I think we're going to take a quick break,
okay.
But we will be right back after we hear from some sponsors, and I want to talk about some of your roles that you've done.
Okay.
I feel awkward today.
I feel...
You know that we connect like it's Bluetooth. Yeah, you want to drink, you want to blind, baby, you choose. Look at how you take control, that's some voodoo. You know I love the way you run in the news. You know that we connect like it's Bluetooth. Yeah, you want to drink, you want to blind, baby, you choose. Look at how you take control, that's some voodoo.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1.
Wow.
That's a good one.
That was actually...
It's my favorite sound in the world.
It's very satisfying.
Sid?
Yes?
What do you do to prepare for a role?
Depends on what it is, but like if it's a dramatic role, it's usually a lot of like looking at what what the lines are in it, and then taking little arrows and in between each sentence being like, what's between the lines? What am I thinking? Because you don't ever talk to someone without having a full dialogue in the back of your head as well. So it's like that's usually with my dramatic stuff. But if I'm doing something in comedy or if I'm trying to be funny, it's just like be loose because I'm going to improv. Mm-hmm. And it's just don't think about it. Don't think too much.
Be in the moment more so.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Do you follow a specific method? Because I haven't read this in a while, but there's obviously method acting, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's like a couple of different styles of that.
I believe that there's no, like every type of acting is method acting now. When
right. Can you describe what method acting is?
Yeah, method acting is basically the idea of putting yourself into the role or connecting emotionally to the role in some way. Is the basis, like very basic of
right.
it. So when you talk about method acting, no one is doing. What was the guy name with the mustache? And he would like black and white. What is his name? Charlie
Chaplin. Yeah.
Yeah, no one's doing that anymore. You know, it's not slapstick. It's not that kind of thing. And if
over the top.
Yeah, right. And that was pre-method. And then after you had Stanislavski and everyone else, you got to learn how to put yourself into a role and be like, no, how would an actual person respond to that? Like. A cop comes over and hits you in the head with a mallet, you're not going to and fall back. You know, like, what's your actual reaction going to be? You're going to be pissed. Why the hell did you hit me with a mallet? Right? So it's like...
Well, and that's what's so funny about how films evolved is it's like people still want escapism, but they want realism inside their art. Like they want to be able to, the audience wants to be able to connect to it where... I mean, when Chaplin was around, they were probably just coming out of the war, and they were probably sick of real life.
Yeah, and they're like, let's watch something that makes me laugh. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now you can't find a comedy without a little drama in it.
Totally.
Yeah, right?
And some of the best dramatic actors nowadays are comedians. Like, if you look at, like, Jim Carrey's roles, or I can't remember who the guy is who he's in Better Call Saul. And he just did a film called Nobody.
Oh,
and he's just so good at it.
yeah.
And Kevin James is apparently like really like got this really cool role. Adam Sandler in Uncut Gems, like.
Well, even you get people like Robert Downey Jr., who was always like Tropic Thunder and things like that. And you got him as Iron Man, where he's just this douchebag, and then he dies, and your heart is broken. Like, you know, and it's like things that's like why is a comedian making me cry?
Yeah.
You know, why is someone funny making me like feel this way? And it's, I think the whole thing now is.
Robin Williams also was so well known for that.
Yeah, Robin Williams just hit every string and everybody, like, it's just he was hilarious, but he was so depressed and so real. You know, like he was the actor's version of Van Gogh,
right?
You know, just so messed up in the head, but his art came out just beautiful every time.
And so you were saying, so everything does is kind of has method now. As
you don't.
I think a lot of people think method is like the classic like Jared Leto scenario, or like the Daniel Day-Lewis scenario, or the
you don't need to be the
Shia
Joker.
LaBeouf
You don't need to be the Joker. You don't need to be drunk on set. You don't need to be high. That's not method acting. That's lazy acting, in my opinion.
Ooh, that's a bar.
It is. If the only way you can play drunk is by being plastered.
You're doing something wrong.
You're not acting. You're drunk, you know? And it's like the only way that you can play stoned just by being stoned, then you're not acting, right?
I'm not mad at it though. Like if an actor did want to do it and it wasn't affecting their own their other takes that we have to do in the other scenes, like,
well,
I
that's the big thing, right? It's like some shots look beautiful on camera, but how are you going to direct someone who can't stand?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like, it's like you better get it in one take. That's all you got, and then he's done for the day too, because he's drunk. You can't do the other 4 scenes you had to do in that space.
I haven't had any roles where I've had to like get method with it, but have you experimented with it and like tried getting into that kind of mindset?
Yeah, I've definitely gone. Like, the Darlings is always a big one, because she was psycho.
Right.
She was controlling, and she was psycho, and she was like, we still don't know if she killed her sister. Like, at the end of the movie, you still don't know. And that was one of them that I noticed I was bringing home with me every night, that I was like, you know, like things that I would say even to like mom and dad or stuff. I'm like, that's not me. That's Maude Chataway. Like, shit, that's kind of psycho. Like, why are you thinking that? Or, you know, like even just like the way that like I like driving down the highway and just being like, oh, you know how funny it would be if I just that person off the road, and you're like, that's not me. That's some crazy psychopath. Like, why are you thinking that way? Oh yeah, because you've been this character for 3 weeks straight now, right? Yeah, or Cecily Cardew, she was great. She was innocent. I was bubbly. I think it was the best relationship I've had with anyone, because I was just ditzy for 3 months. Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah, so what is that? Like, is that just constantly being that character? Or
I think it's like, if you think about it, you're a different person with your parents as you are with your partner, as you are with your best friends. You change your personality a little bit for each person. But if you have to totally 360 change your personality to be someone completely different than yourself, you kind of slowly become part of that, and it becomes a part of you. And then now that's a different part of your personality, and you might be able to click into it later, or you might just be some, you know, have to lock yourself in a hotel room for 6 months because you're the Joker, and, you know, you can't. Yeah, and like you can get there in that moment, but even him, like everybody thought what happened after it was like because of his role as the Joker. But if you the documentary that his family put out, it's like that was fun for him. Like, he could get there, but as soon as he took the makeup off, like he was normal Heath, and he was good and that's fun and loving, and I feel it's the exact same with me. As soon as you yell cut, the tears stop. It's instant. Like, I don't keep crying afterwards. Like, the tears are done and you yelled cut. I'm like, cool. Like, can I have a banana? Like, what's going on? Like, do we have a second? Can I run and grab coffee? We were filming one time, and we had just did a pretty long lunch break. I don't know if you remember, on The King is Coming. Oh God, yeah. I took a nap. The unreleased short film that may stay unreleased. We'll never know, just because I'm a lazy editor. Yeah. But we took a long lunch break, and we were coming back, and like I was being kind of goofy, and the crew was kind of not, like, you know, being super fast, and we had other actors on set who were being kind of goofy. But then you had to do a pretty intense role and a pretty intense scene, and as soon as I said action, you just like were there. You were like boom, and you were into it, and it made all of us like stop and be like, oh shit, yeah, we're doing, like, we're pros.
like we're doing something here. Like we have to get back on track. And it made the whole day go better and stuff because of it. So that'd be one tip I would give actors is like take your stuff seriously. Like what you do helps everybody on set when you take it seriously and when you're a pro.
Yeah, the best. I think you gave me that advice. That was you. We were watching what's his name, Wolverine? You
Hugh
remember?
Jackman, yeah.
And in the in the VR or when he was just doing the ADR or whatever, and he was just doing the and the with the thing, and you're like, he looks like an idiot.
He does. It's so stupid.
It looks so stupid, but he did it so seriously, and it's like, you're never going to find a better Wolverine.
No.
And it's ridiculous watching him do it, but it's like, yeah, you got, and like, look at every Marvel movie now or any superhero movie, they're wearing pajamas. And they're looking at a stick, which is up in the air, which is Groot dying. And
it's
they're
the dumbest thing ever, if you think about it.
Yeah, dragons, you have to be scared of this man holding a big stick and going grr at you, and you're like, you can't not. Yeah.
Or Benedict Cumberbatch when he was playing Smog.
And like slithering on the ground. Yeah.
He's like taking it so seriously. He's so confident.
Yeah, and I think that's the best. Yeah, you gave me that advice was who cares if you look stupid? Look at these guys. Like they're some of the best in the world, and what they're doing looks absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, the best actors I've ever worked with have always been the most confident on set.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, yeah, I try to aspire to do that. It's why I probably don't act very much. It's because I'm like, this is so silly. Like playing pretend half the time is so silly, but it's so important when you're acting. So, like there's money at stake, and these movies do make lots of money, and it is a lucrative career. So,
and there's nothing worse than hearing we're behind.
Yeah.
You get a production manager going to the director and whispering in your ear, we're behind, and then it's like all the actors look at each other and we're like, okay, guys, we're about to get cut, so like let's do our best takes because whatever we make right now is ending up in it. Yeah. Like, so let's focus.
Yeah, let's go. What was it? Why, when you're on set, how do you like to work with the crew and directors? Like some people don't even like crew like looking at them and whatnot, or they want like, that's what I was taught when I first got into the industry is like that. Like everybody treats actors
like we're fragile.
Like they're so fragile. And they're like look down when they're acting. Don't look at them. Like I get it to a certain extent. Like there's that classic video of I think it's Christian Bale getting angry at the cinematographer because he's trying to act and rehearse with the director, and the cinematographer's changing the lights and stuff, and he's just like, you're just not being pro at that point. And people that aren't in the industry probably thought that Christian Bale was being a dick, but he could have been nicer about it. But we also don't know how long this had been happening and blah 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 blah. But how do you like working with?
Yeah, it's two sides. Like in Querencia, all I wanted to do was joke off with the crew afterwards. Like we had to, which you heard "Fuck Me, Daddy" in that film, which was great.
That's the one thing I'll say is it's so awkward watching your roles sometimes. Like when you scream "Fuck Me, Daddy" in that role, I was like, oh my god.
Yeah. That's my sister.
Weird. That's weird.
Yeah. But yeah, like that whole thing, we have a full outtake of us just being like, hey, you guys got to make sex noises from behind this wall. And it's me and Penta, and we're just...
So wait, what was your role in that one?
I was playing Murray, who was the roommate that just slept with anyone and anything. Like anything that moved, Murray was sleeping with them. And it was super fun. And she also assumed everyone was gay. That was kind of the thing. It was like, what do you mean? It's 2021. Like, what do you mean you're not gay? Like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
You're not even curious?
You're not even curious. Everyone's a little gay now. Like, come on. And so that was that character. And she was just loud and obnoxious and in your face. And again, just me made it more dramatic and funnier. But yeah, that was... Yeah, that was Murray. Murray was just loud and obnoxious and crazy the whole time.
The character would come back to the apartment, and your character would basically have a new girl with her every single time.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, for like crew wise, like that on that set, it was like nothing but joking around and laughing, and the crew was great, and I was the only white person on that entire set, which is insane. Like first day, we did this big circle because it was during COVID. It was a very small cast and a very small crew because we didn't want to get shut down for any reason. So we actually had a big circle the first day that we were filming, and we talked about like, oh, where's everyone from? And a lot of them were Native or Aboriginal, and they got from different tribes like all across Canada. It was super cool. And then we had like a bunch of people from like we had a few Chinese people from China, and we had a few people from Korea, and we had one guy from Nigeria, which was all super awesome and cool. And then they come to me, and I'm like, yeah, so my name is Sydney Powers. I'm white.
Well, and the whole point of that set was like they were trying to hire as many Indigenous people as they possibly could, right? And they got grant money and stuff from AAPTN, or I don't know the whole scenario, but it was you could tell it better. But the whole story was to promote Indigenous art and the LGBTQ community, and et cetera. So it was super cool being on that set because it was like being surrounded by almost literally the minorities of the film industry. Yeah. So yeah, that was crazy cool, and I loved that crew. But then you get on Pallidus, and Kelly's behind the camera, and I can't say whatever the freaking line was, and I tried 5 times, and then he just. I lost it on Kelly. I was like, absolutely not. Like, no. And like, so that's the actor in the crew. It's like, if I've messed up 18 times, don't laugh at me, because I'm just going to keep going, and I'm just going to keep saying it until I get it. But if you laugh at me, claws are going to come out. Yeah. Well, it's probably also like, what time was it? How long had you been on set at that point? Like, yeah, I had a diva moment, and it was funny, and it was just, it had to be Kelly, which made it even better. But yeah. That's what's so funny is people don't realize is like, you're on set with the same people, and like sometimes in like a tight spot, like if you're trying to film, like if you were trying to film in here with a crew, a scene, like there's barely any moving room, you're shoulder to shoulder, and you're on set with these people for like 16 hours sometimes. And so you get onto each other's nerves a little bit every now and again. I had one scene in Querencia where the hallway was so narrow that we had to film down that I actually, before the scene would start, would duck almost in between the tripod, like the legs of the tripod, and then walk into the scene because there was no other room for me to go. Yeah. And you're like, that, like, film crews are probably the closest people out there. And so are you performing for the crew to a certain extent? Because like actors need to perform in order to practice their craft. Yeah. And like that's why going to acting school can be really good sometimes, because you get an opportunity to actually practice your craft in front of people. So are you acting for the crew, or are you acting for... Yeah, I think... again, Querencia is a great example of Mary told me to... The director, Mary, told me to improv, and she's like, just improv, and your whole goal is to make Caitlin laugh. I'm like, I don't want to make Caitlin laugh. I want to make you laugh, because Caitlin's, confident and a great actor. Mary is shy and awkward. And it was like, and the whole thing is we're talking about Mary's character because she wrote, directed, I think produced, and was the lead in that. So like insane. But yeah, she was doing it all. And we were talking about her character, and she had blue hair, and she's a singer, and I was like, oh my God, I'm just gonna lay into Mary. So when we're talking about like, oh, what happened with, Abe and Daka, and I was like, oh, what happened? Like, how many octaves did you make her scream? Did you fuck the blue Smurf? Like all of this stuff. And it was just Mary yelling cut, because the entire crew was just killing themselves laughing. And it's like nothing makes you feel better about yourself and amps you up more for the rest of the day than having the director being like, oh my God, I laughed during your take, so now we have to redo it. Awesome. Yeah. You're like, nice, I nailed it. I crushed it. That's so funny. You've done a little stand-up stuff also, right? Yeah. Did you just do that to help with your acting, or I love stand-up. You like it? Yeah. I love stand-up. I've also realized a lot that like a lot of people that do stand-up go in the I'm ugly, I'm fat. And then I come in and I'm like, well, I'm a Vancouver actress. So, and it's like just having that total opposite thing of like, I'm beautiful and I'm perfect is my stand-up persona. And then I just get to make fun of everyone else that came up before me. And like, I'll be like, talk to some of the guys. I know I had one where one of the other comedians, he was a bigger guy. And I was like, dude, not even in your league. Like, keep going, right? And it was just like little things like that. Comedians love ripping on each other also. Yeah. It's like the perfect place for it. It's so much fun. And it's just like you get to, and then they all, of course, went on stage and like started making fun of me. And it was just like the gay jokes were just like so, like me being a fake lesbian and all that stuff. And like those were, it was awesome. Like, she's doing it for the clout. She's doing it for the clout. Yeah, she's just doing it for her acting career. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that stuff is all, Would you ever consider moving back to Kelowna for acting, or is Vancouver where it's at for you? Vancouver's where it's at, especially right now. Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's just home for me now. Like, that's where my friends are. That's where, my relationship is, my dog, all that good stuff. Well, that's what I was thinking about this today, actually. You've probably you've probably lived most of your life in the Lower Mainland at this point, right?
Yeah.
Because you were 9?
Six when we moved to Kelowna.
No, because I was 11.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10. No, that can't be right. I was in grade 3.
I don't know. Anyways, I don't think you were 6. I think you were like 9.
Weird. I had Mrs. Weston, so I was definitely in grade 3.
Yeah, that's 8. That's 8.
Eight.
Okay, so you're 8 or 9.
Eight,
You're
cool.
8 turning 9. That's
8 turn it. Let's go. Sure, let's go.
Something
with
like that. And then you moved to Vancouver again when you were 18. So
Yeah.
you really only spent 10 years in the Okanagan roughly, and now you've been how many years in Vancouver?
Almost 6, I think.
And then add in the time when you were in Maple Ridge. So yeah, you're a Lower Mainland person.
Yeah. I like it.
Because I've been in the Okanagan for longer than I've in the Lower Mainland at this point.
Yeah,
So.
and it's funny too, like when I first moved there, how many times I was called country girl. Because it would like, people would talk to me and I would just instantly respond back and like try to have a conversation with people. Like I was just saying hi while I was crossing the street. Like country girl thinks we have time to have conversations, or like, you know, sitting at a bus stop and everyone's got their headphones on and I'm like, hi. And they're like, take their headphones off. Hi. I'm like, how are you? What's going on? And they're like, you're not from here. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing? You don't talk to people on transit. And so like that was always funny, that growing up in Kelowna. And
How was moving to the big city at 17 and like all by yourself and taking that on?
I just remember everything being so tall.
Yeah, the buildings.
The buildings. I did like, that was the most amazing thing. And even now, whenever I walked like down to Cactus Club or whatever, and I'm walking down Burrard, and I just look up, and I'm like, you remember how cool this was? And that's like always a thought in my mind. I'm like, do you remember how insane you thought this was? Like how tall these buildings were? But it's hard to make friends in a big city, especially when you're not drinking age.
Yeah, yeah, fair.
And all of your other friends are in their 20s. Like everyone I went to school with was in their 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah, like super cool being the youngest person at VADA. Not when you literally can't hang out with anyone, because all they wanted to do is they wanted to go out to a pub afterwards or something. And it's like, yeah, and it's like I can't do that. Snuck into a few.
Allegedly.
But yeah, I think the hardest part was making friends. And then once I turned 19, it was like everything was easy.
Yeah.
Everything was easy once I turned 19. Like friends were easy. Acting started to get a lot easier. People wanted to see me more. You know, people didn't feel so awkward about like it was like older people felt weird about talking to an 18-year-old.
Yep. Fair.
They would be like, I'm uncomfortable with this conversation. It's like 19. It's like, oh, you're fine. You're legal.
Yeah.
You know, like
You're an adult now.
You're an adult
officially.
now. It's fine. Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. I've always considered moving to Vancouver, but I just haven't done it yet.
I know
so.
you were supposed to be a roommate.
Yeah, that was almost a thing at a point in time, but yeah, I don't know. The Okanagan is the thing. I get it with acting. If I was 100% pursuing acting, I would be in Vancouver in a heartbeat. Because even just finding an agent and a manager or whatever is important.
Yeah.
And you know, Kelowna just doesn't quite have the scene yet, unless you're a background actor, and then you can get a lot of work here. But other than that, you pretty much have to go to Vancouver to find like a solid agent.
Yeah.
You don't have a manager, you just have an agent, right?
Yeah, my agent is my manager.
Okay.
Yeah, Canada doesn't have like in Canada, you just need an agent. Your agent is your agent and your manager, and sometimes even your lawyer. It's more of an American thing to need both an agent and a manager. But yeah, no, like T does everything for me.
What was that experience like linking up with T, and how crucial has she been in your career?
Yeah, she's an absolute mama bear. And I think that's the best part is like anything I'm uncomfortable with, she's on the phone. Anything I'm unsure about, she's on the phone. Like it's, and she doesn't put up with any BS either. Like I'll send her an audition, and if it's not good, she's like, I'm not sending it. I don't want that casting director to see this. So no, you can either do it again, or you've now missed the deadline, so I guess you'll have to try again next time.
Yeah.
But she's also your biggest cheerleader.
Nice.
Right? Like when I do kill a role, like I was so sick once, and I'm like, T, I'm so sick. And she's like, just put something on camera. I don't care. Just send it to me. And then she messaged me back within 15 minutes of me sending it to her. And she was like, you are amazing. Like, she's like, you were absolutely incredible that you were literally throwing up between like action and cut. And then you like puked on either end of that. And you still killed this, like you killed this audition. So
yeah. Awesome. I mean, yeah, it's gotta be nice having like such a strong cheerleader that's backing you up and probably helping teach you along the way how to be better and what like casting directors are looking for.
Yeah.
How do you prepare for an audition compared to an actual role? Like, is there like when you're in front of a casting director, like, are you trying to think of what that person might want, or you're like, this is just the best I can give you?
Yeah, I always look at the role, like, especially for an audition, it's how I, like, how would Sydney do it? How would Sid do it? And do it that way. And what am I thinking and everything like that? And I go 100% with my own gut. And actually, the Recall is a great example of that. When I went to go do the audition for Recall, the only thing we were told is that I'd been abducted by an alien. So I was like, cool. What's going to happen when I come back down? I expected I was doing the weird body things, and I was like drooling, and I was like the whole thing, and it was huge, and it was dramatic, and it was awesome. And they're like, okay, so the rest of the actors have done it deadpan like they're sleeping. So it's like completely different from how I took the script, but that's what they want. They want to see what you do. And like sometimes you walk into a room and they'll give you like, okay, just so background, this is this, like there's a few background things. But for most of the time they're like, we want to see how you interpreted it, and then we're going to tell you what we want. Yeah. And I think that's the best way to approach it. Or even if you look at a script, you're like, okay, this is how they want it, and they clearly write what they want. Do something different, because they're going to redirect you.
And you're going to stick out.
And then you show them your range right away, right?
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
Yeah, you do something totally different than what they want or what they expected, and they're like, either that's super cool, we didn't even think about it that way, like, yeah, great, awesome. Or it's like, okay, you missed the mark by like 30 feet. Let's go way back and let's try it again. And then you give them exactly what they want. Yeah. And it's just as powerful as a feeling of being like, I either killed it with my own art or I did exactly what you wanted, and I'm a great actor over here now too.
Yeah, if I was in a casting room and going through a bunch of auditions, I would be looking, as a director, I'd be looking for look, range, and how well you take direction, and just if you seem like a cool person or not, like somebody I'd want to hang out with all day kind of thing. Because if you can direct that person and it's and they have a wide range of talent, then you're good. Like you can get there on set, we can figure it out. But in the audition room, it's kind of like, you know, we're not actually on set, so there's no point in you absolutely nailing exactly what I want, because who knows if you're going to do that 6 months from now. Yeah.
Well, what's the girl's name from Princess Diaries again? And she's in Anne Hathaway. Yeah. She wasn't even supposed to audition for Princess Diaries. She was supposed to be somewhere else, but her agent called her last minute. It was like, hey, can you go and do this audition? She said, sure. And she goes to sit down to do the audition. She misses her chair, and she hits the ground. And they're like, that's the character right there. Like, that's Mia. That's Mia. She's clumsy. She's awkward. And she comes, she's like, oh, hi. Boom. And just missed her chair. And they're like, hired. Like, you are Mia. Like, why would we not hire you? So,
yeah, so many stories like that. Or like Harrison Ford being like a carpenter or whatever and getting recognized. And, so do you like playing roles that are closer to who you actually are? Or do you like to completely get lost in somebody different? Or either or.
If I'm doing comedy, I like to do something closer to me, and I like to play myself and myself as a comedian. But as just an acting role, I want to be psycho. Like, I want to be Cruella. I want to be, I want to be the villain. I want to be crazy. I want to be psycho. I want to scream. I want to cry. I want to throw things. Like, there's nothing more fun than being a flamboyant villain.
Yeah.
And I think that's my favorite role to play, is like just pure, like, she's psychotic.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, you're good at it.
Thanks.
You're good at it. We're going to take one more quick break and then have a quick little third segment, but we'll hear from our second and last sponsor. I'm still awkward.
Yeah, you are. I gotta pee.
Playing safe, regular roles that make us fucking hate. But every second we dream about a life to chase. I wanna be iconic, I wanna blast through the speaker while you smoke your chronic. A half a tab with my reefer, keep that shit hypnotic, and I'm who own my product. I like the worldwide best.
That's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. Except for this one, yeah.
That's hilarious. You were just being catfished.
I was just being catfished.
That's so weird.
I don't know why though, because that's the thing. Is like with girls, they always make them like go to like links, and they're like, "This is my new OnlyFans," or blah blah blah, and then people click on it who obviously like want to see these girls naked or whatever in their town, and then they give their credit card information, and the hackers like hack them and then like start spending a ton of their money and shit. Yeah. With me, it was just like a random guy, an average Joe with some camera skills. So I was like, what's the point? What's the gain for the person hacking my account?
It was just all pictures of you too, which was so weird.
Yeah, I guess maybe they were trying to catfish. Like maybe that's just a sign that I'm better looking than I thought I was.
Well, look at our genes.
Those DVDs. The
Those
V-neck.
DVDs.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rachel behind the camera today, and just on joint rolling duty.
Yeah, that's my girlfriend.
Well, we're definitely back. Everybody's probably gonna hear that conversation. Sid,
Brother,
what's up?
not much.
What do you have going on? What is next for you?
Well, I'm writing our script still. Sibling rivalry, which will be super fun to film because it is literally the stoner rom-com. It's if Seth Rogen wrote a Hallmark film. It's hilarious and it's funny and it's awkward and it's, I think, like half the conversations you and I've actually had in real life. Like I think I've taken chunks of like our Instagram like back and forth messaging and I've just made it into dialogue.
Oh,
and it's,
nice.
yeah,
That's smart.
Yeah, it's gonna be great, and it's just us, and I think it'll be a really great like project for you and I to make. So I'm doing that. I've had more auditions, I think, in this last month than I have in like all of 2020, which makes sense because everything was closed down, but now everything is just back and booming in Vancouver. So hopefully we'll get some acting jobs come September, and maybe pilot season's coming up soon. So
Yeah, and is Querencia having a season 2 as well?
yes, unconfirmed but confirmed.
Okay.
Yeah, I have signed on to do a second season.
Right, but if it happens, it's a whole nother scenario.
Yeah, Revy bought us, and they wanted us a Revy original, and we've been told that we're having a second season, but obviously I haven't got any paperwork or anything that's gone through yet.
Right.
So yeah, but hopefully that would be really cool. Maria at a reserve is just a whole nother story.
Yeah.
That's just, yeah, Maria at a powwow is going to be hilarious.
That's your character, right?
Yeah, Maria. Yeah. Maria at a powwow is just all we need to see.
That's such a good way of like making it relatable, teach more about like the indigenous culture and stuff like that, is have just like a completely bozo character like your character go to a powwow or to a reserve and stuff, and that would be funny to see that on there. You are a very talented writer.
Thank you.
Where does that come from? Like, does that come from just reading scripts constantly and working on them, or?
I think a big part of it was just like I'm dyslexic. So growing up, it was really hard for me to read. So once I actually learned how to do it and I got, and I actually like figured it out because I was way behind everyone else, I kind of became obsessed with it. And then I think another big part of it is our Uncle Erman, best storyteller you will ever talk to in the world.
Honestly, on both the McQueen and the Powers side of the family, there's just great storytellers all around.
Yeah. And I think that was like just a big part of it too, is just like hearing. And for me, it's always this like more the stories of the McQueens growing up. Like our mom being the youngest of 11. The stories are insane of these kids, of our aunts and uncles just being kids. And with that, I think it gave me a very creative way of telling a story. Is just like, it's a different way of hearing things. And I think that made my writing, that's very much how I picture my writing and picture me telling stories, is how a lot of the McQueens, talk over each other, and they're very loud, and it's like you hear one word from Auntie Laura, well, 6 words from Auntie Lorraine, while Auntie D is yelling in the background, and it's like to be able to take all that and be like, hey, what does this look like in a script?
Right.
Because I loved sitting here and being around it and listening to it. How do I bring the rest of the world into this? Make a script like it. So I think that's kind of my writing style, is people loud, people talking over each other, and just...
Do you think it's beneficial for an actor to learn how to write?
I think so.
Yeah, because the way I see it is like you're not getting roles, well, write yourself one.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
like Jack Nicholson was a writer. He always wanted to be an actor, but he wasn't getting any acting roles, so he started writing, and then he was a writer for a really long time. And then I think when he was 39, he co-wrote Easy Rider with Dennis Hopper, and then that like completely blew up his career after that. And now he's won an Oscar in every single decade since.
That's insane.
Yeah. And I think he was 39 when he got his big break, which is pretty wild. So I can imagine writing and understanding story and the characters a little bit better. And like, even as an actor, you build backstories a lot of the time to your characters. So you kind of have that already natural imagination that you need to be a writer.
And also it's just like, I think another big part of it is, and I know many people who do this, so don't take me out, but it's, you know when you're in a fight or you're just before having an argument or just finished having an argument and then you go and you replay it in your head and all the things you could have said? That's all dialogue, right? So you're rewriting the argument in the way that would have made you look better usually for me at least. And all of that is like I will play all this stuff in my head and I'll just be sitting there and I will have like done a full-blown scene in my brain, like full dialogue 18 times, and I'm like, actually that could work in my film. Like that's I can make a scenario similar to this, and then I just put that in, right? And it's just I think that's a big part of it too.
Nice. Yeah. How has writing Sibling Rivalry been going? Like, how long have you been working on that for? And it's a full feature-length script.
Feature-length. Yeah, I think I'm aiming for roughly like 190 minutes, like a proper 2 hour, like hour and a half, 2 hour. But yeah, it's a lot of rewriting. I'm finding the more I want to put things in, the more I want to take things out.
Totally.
And and really trying to follow that Hallmark storyline
Nice.
and that rom-com storyline, because it's very much like, here's the character, here's the problem, here's the makeover scene, here's how we fix the problem, which is all pretty much fixed because we had a makeover. That fixed 90% of our issues. Yeah. We took her glasses off and now she's beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think a lot of it's just the fun of that, of trying to make everyone have their own story and have every character have their own background story is causing me to do a lot of rewriting, then a lot of writing, then rewriting it. And
yeah, I describe writing scripts, but also editing as like sculpting almost. Like if you have like a giant rock and you just start by just chipping away at the chunks and just getting down to like the rough kind of outline, and then you can start getting like, you can bring out your smaller chisel and you can start chiseling away at more finer details, and you can bring the sandpaper in and really start like fine, but you start with just this giant blob of bullshit.
Yeah.
And you just whittle it down. Just whittle it down. And you just, yeah, like for me, it's such a cliche, but whenever I'm writing, I love having like a glass of whiskey or two and just getting loose. And just blah, blah, blah.
Word vomit.
Just puke onto the page. And then I'll go and I'll look at it the next day. I'll be like, okay, no, let's fine tune this a little bit. And
write drunk, edit sober. That's the way you do it.
Yeah, write drunk, edit sober. Yeah. 100%. Where did this idea come from for Sibling Rivalry? And maybe if you can come up with a quick synopsis for the people out there.
It started out as a short of just a conversation that you and I had. I think we were just FaceTiming. Both of us were probably drunk. And it was, you had asked me on girl advice, and I lost it because because I was a little sibling and I lost it. I was laughing so hard because I'm like, aren't you the one that's supposed to be giving me girl advice? And how's your younger sister giving like you girl advice?
Well, you've had more girlfriends than me, which is hilarious. My younger sister's had more girlfriends.
I came out at 15 and I've had more girlfriends than you have. But yeah, I think that's how the whole thing started. And then I was like, oh my God, what would happen now if like we made this, like what would happen if we amped up the drama?
Right.
I amped up the scenario, amped up the drama, made it ridiculous. And that's how the whole thing started. It was just a short script, like very short film. I think it was like 5 or 6 pages of just like what would happen if I tried to teach you how to pick up girls in a bar. And then it was like, oh my God, this could be a feature film. Like, it's hilarious. Like, it's so funny. So then it was like, okay, well, what happened if now we had all these other characters involved and it wasn't just you picking up a girl in a bar. We're now trying to teach you how to pick up women in general.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh my God, now we're going to have it where he's, the Hallmark writer and she's the sister is, the player. And now we're going to have her teach him how to pick up girls and teach her how to love. And it's like,
so silly.
And then we just add marijuana and it's my script.
And shebang. Yeah. So give a quick synopsis, a quick like line log or whatever they're called.
A line log.
Yeah, I think that's what they're called. Where it's like one tiny little 2-sentence that describes the script.
2 sentences that describe the script. Brother gets cheated on, moves back in with sister. Sister does the whole crazy stupid love thing and is, I'm going to teach you how to pick up people. And then everything hits the fan.
Oh, boom.
boom, brother.
Mic drop.
That's literally what happens. It's like we have two very separate lives that used to be part of, like they used to be very close, and then they separated because he moved away, and now he moves back in because he's heartbroken, and the little sister takes over. And it's big and it's dramatic and it's funny and
I'm excited to work on that one for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's calling me.
Popular.
Doing a podcast, bruh. What was I gonna say?
I have a question too at some point.
Okay, well, you ask me a question.
Okay, question I was gonna ask you is that, and you might have to cut this too because what was his name? Dilly?
Yeah, Dillybat.
Dillybat. Okay. My question for you is that you had Dillybat from Saskatchewan. You've had me technically from Vancouver. How are you going to expand this?
How am I going to expand this?
Yeah, are you going to keep sticking with like the Kelowna artists and trying to help, like, you know, and keep talking to like the kind of newer Kelowna artists, people that are just, you know, coming up? Or are you going to try to like talk to people from Vancouver and Saskatchewan and Alberta, or are you going to try to get people from the States? And like, what's your next? How are you taking this? Next?
No, it's a really good question. My whole plan with it is to start local and try to use this podcast as an opportunity to promote locals. And I mean, there's just nobody doing it, in my opinion. Like, I hate that I can't go on to like Kelowna Now or Castnet or whatever and click a website link and be like, these are all the shows that are happening in town.
Yeah.
And like, this one's happening at Fernando's, this one's happening at Doc's, this one's happening at B&A, this one's happening at, you know, wherever. So that's kind of my main goal to start, is just be that be that person that can help promote everybody in Kelowna and just give them a bigger platform and kind of try to stay up to date with it. Beyond that, though, I mean, the beautiful thing about podcasts is I can interview anybody I want, right? And so I absolutely want to be reaching out past Vancouver, LA, anybody. I guess my ultimate goal would honestly be to have Joe Rogan on my podcast. And,
that's crazy.
You know, and and interview him. I think that'd be so cool and have a good time with him. So yeah, it's not limited to anybody or anything in the long term. Like, whoever is interesting and has something going on. And that's what like late night talk shows used to be, right? Like you'd go onto the late night talk show to promote your latest gig, and whether you are a movie star or a musician or a writer or whatever. So that's eventually what I'd like to grow this podcast to.
And I've noticed you're really good with like your questions and like keeping people going, like a lot, like what is it, the hot wings show? Yeah, you know, like they're just so educated on the people before they come in. And I was wondering if that's just because you know a lot of the people that are on the podcast, that you're educated with your questions, or do you like have to go and deep dive into what they're doing and everything?
Depends. Like with the musicians, like I have such a genuine interest in music and love for it, and the local artists here in town, that like I can just riff with them. It's like it all starts with like literally being at the bar with my friends or with you or
brosios.
whoever, and just being like, we should have recorded this whole conversation, like this could be a podcast. And so like I don't bring any notes with me. I try not to come too prepared with any questions. Like I just try to make it as flowing and natural as possible, which is why this one's been so difficult for me so far, because like I know everything about you for the most part.
I don't think we've gone longer than like 3 days without FaceTiming or talking.
I don't know about that, but
no, I don't think so. It's at least a text or an Instagram or anything. Like it's like we're siblings. We're involved in each other's lives. So
yeah. But yeah, so but when I did the episode that I dropped today with Cassandra, like I know nothing about freediving.
No.
So I did a ton of research going into that just to be able to be like, just to have some context of what the conversation was about. And I was genuinely interested in it, so that helped. But yeah, so no, I don't prepare too much before any of these things. And yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering, because I'm like, you're always very prepared. I was like, do you do the hot ones research that they do, where it's just like
not quite.
Yeah, they ask questions that you're like, you never heard on an interview before.
Maybe if I got to a point where I was like interviewing somebody very famous, I'd like do a little bit more research. But even like, do you know Nardwars in Vancouver?
No, I don't
that
think
guy
so.
Like shoot, boop boop.
Oh
boop,
yes,
boop.
yes I do.
Yeah.
Yes I do.
He for some reason asks the craziest questions, and that's his shtick. Like he'll know that you had your 7th birthday at Chuck E. Cheese in Wyoming for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And then the reaction he gets from the people that he's interviewing is like so funny, and that's his shtick. Where I don't think that's my shtick. I think my shtick is much closer to the Joe Rogan experience, where it's like literally just a conversation or attempting to have a conversation. So yeah. that's pretty much it for the podcast. Hopefully it grows to a point where lots of people are watching it, and I can make $100 million contract with Spotify.
Well, that'll be great. Hopefully it
dope.
comes to the point that I'm famous enough that I can just show up on here and you would already have 100 million followers.
Exactly. And that is the other thing about podcasts, is that you can get exposed to your audiences, or your guest audience, and your guests can be exposed to your audience. And so it's like a mutual relationship, like a beneficial relationship. But yeah, stop interviewing me.
Oh, okay. Rare.
You're on my podcast. Let's go. Well, I guess we're getting close to the end here. So really quick. Actually, I remember what I was going to ask you.
Okay.
I finally remembered. What do you think it is about you and I growing up that we both ended up in the same industry? And what is that?
Narcissistic response. You've done everything after I've done it.
Facts.
Literally the most, I learned to ride a bike first. I wanted to go into acting first.
I learned how to ride a bike without wheels first.
Without wheels first.
Took the tricycle
Training wheels off. Yeah.
And then I was like, fuck, my sister is 3 years younger than me, is riding a bike with two wheels, and I'm not. And I learned that day.
Yeah, I got accepted in Nevada, and you moved out of mom and dad's house, like I think 2 weeks later, because you're like, there's no way you're moving out before I am.
Facts.
Yeah.
But I think that was just natural also.
Yeah. And I think we just our family's artsy. Everything about our family is artsy. Dad was a musician. They all played sports, but none of them were going anywhere with it, where I think a lot of our family went places with art. Even look at Auntie Jody's boyfriend Dana. He does all that cool stuff on the wood, right? And it's just I think our family and Grandpa has that obsession with all the totem poles and all of the native art that he finds and Aboriginal stuff. And it's just I think our family is very, very artistic. And I think when we actually realized, we can actually make money doing this, I think we just fell into it. And it was, I think it's just something that you and I have always had huge imaginations. And
I think it's the imagination part is definitely a part of it. And yes, you pursuing acting, it was definitely what sparked me to be like, oh shit, you can actually pursue acting or filmmaking. And I always, like you said, we used to do the whole imagination games growing up and stuff like that, and pretend to be the knights slaying dragons, all that bullshit. But I never acted because I was too insecure to go up on stage. And in theater, I was insecure about my height, about how I looked and stuff like that. And I just was I just didn't want to do it. I felt weird and nerdy in doing it,
But your grade 12 year, when you did your walk across the
but I only did the one walk, right?
For your what was that called? Your grad.
The fashion show. The
fashion show. Yeah. Did you just walk across the stage? You didn't do anything else?
I think I maybe pulled the comb out and I put
I
through my
think you
hair,
had
but
something, it's that's the little
I
things.
Worked it. I worked it.
That's but
But
even something that little sparks that in you, right?
It was tough though. I was nervous, and all my friends did a dance routine that I was supposed to be a part of, and I was I bailed on it. I was like, hell nah, I'm not doing that.
Well,
dance
you were even
routine
the guy in high school that I was running up to do leadership things, and you were like, I don't know her. I literally
you were way more outgoing than I was.
I was the leader of leadership in grade 11. I failed at actual school, but my extracurriculars were through the roof. I think once you kind of got out of the I can look like an idiot. I think you were still very much the same personality as I am.
That's 100% what it is now. I'm totally okay and comfortable with looking like an idiot and just failing in public.
Yeah.
Now, because I'm just probably more secure with myself. But back then it was not that. No. I was even playing drums, I would get anxiety, playing drums in the band and stuff for concert. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. But I think also what got us into this was we had I remember our place, everybody growing up in Kelowna, the one kid had the pool, and the other kid had the cabin, and the other kid had the boat. We had the giant collection of movies, right? That dad would collect. And then as a family, mom used to always love watching rom-coms and stuff, Friends, and she would and Survivor, and we would always have Thursday night you could stay up an extra half hour and watch this show with us. Heroes, yeah.
Heroes is the big one for me because I got to stay up till 10 p.m. to finish Heroes. Right? That was a big thing.
It was a reward to go and watch it. And then even Friday nights, we'd always order pizza and watch a movie and stuff. So there was this culture at our household around.
And Dad always had a camera. Dad always had a camera. Like, no matter what, Dad had a camera on him. Like anytime any of the kids were doing anything, Dad was downstairs with his camera, right? Yeah.
And editing also, and and watching that Disney video is so funny because you are just on the camera all the time.
I don't know why he took it off me, if we're being honest. Like, I was hopping into frame. Like, all 3 feet of me was jumping into the frame. Like, I don't understand why you just stopped filming me.
How old were you when we went to Disneyland?
I would have been around 7 or 8.
7 years old?
Yeah, it was right before we moved.
And yeah, all you wanted to do was be on camera and just be making jokes.
We went to Disney in November of 2019, and I'm pretty sure I was still in front of the camera. I don't think Dad pulled out his phone, and I wasn't like, but Mom and I, but Jordan and I, but look at him behind the Wizarding World. Like, it's, yeah.
Yeah, what is it that you like so much about being on camera and being on stage and performing?
Pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. Look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
You're an attention whore, is what you're saying.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah. Well, Sid, shout out your Instagram, shout out some of the films and TV shows and stuff people can come see you in, and shout out what you got going on next.
All right. Well, Querencia is currently on Lumi ATM's streaming service, as well as Revi's streaming service. Otherwise, I think everything else I've been in is on Netflix now at this point, so you can find The Recall and all of that stuff there. As for my Instagram, it is Sid Powers 551. I don't post really anything but pictures of my dog and my girlfriend at the moment because I suck at Instagram. Yeah.
Dope. Okay. Well, I feel like I'm hanging up on a phone call with you or something.
I know, right?
Now. I'm just be like, all right, bye.
All right, bye.
Love you.
Love you.
See
Peace
you
out.
later. All right, that's it, people. Have a good one.
You know that we connect like it's Bluetooth. Yeah, you